Friday, everyone. Your real worth isn't defined by your net worth. What makes you valuable is how you use what you have been given. All of us have gifts. Make sure you're making the most of yours. Have an amazing Friday.
It is now the bottom of the hour. I'm excited to welcome Nancy Matthews to our program today. Nancy is an author of a book. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it in the carousel for you guys. There it is, The One Philosophy. I want to talk to Nancy not only about the re-release of the book, but also what it's been like for her to share the message with all of you guys. Nancy, great to have you on with us.
Hello, hello, hello. So happy to be here.
Help Heal Humanity is an internationally registered charity mindfully designed to provide the world's most vulnerable communities with access to education, food, support, and love. We build the infrastructure, develop the programming, and foster the global connections necessary to support the charity and future of the people in our project countries. Through unconditional giving, Help Heal Humanity achieves its mission to inspire and love those in need in a compassionate and sustainable way. Our vision is to make conscious giving a widespread global practice through kindness and servitude. Get involved now and be part of our Help Heal Humanity family.
Bonjour, comment ça va? Et toi? Ça va très bien. Hola, ni hao, buongiorno, bienvenue, wan ying, bienvenidos, bienvenue, and welcome. Another exciting episode of Gem Hunter Stories. My name is Barry B. Mixon. I am a genealogical storyteller coming to you live from France. And every week, I tell you that I have the phenomenal opportunity to take you on a journey to places you've never been before, to hear you've never heard before. Each week, I tell all of you I have one magnificent moment each week to take you on a mental, physical, and spiritual adventure into art, science, history, and magic of gemstones, precious metals, and fine jewelry. And I say that each week not just for you, but for me. Each and every week I do this show, I am literally going on an adventure that I really never know where it's going to wind up. and what's going to happen. What type of transformations is going to take place inside of me because I have taken a deeper look at what gemstones are. I'll bring up my screen. And as I told you before, this month, I'm literally in France. This is just for those of you, I always get a kick out of this because a viewer actually thought that I was using just green screens. Not that I don't use it, but that these are green screens. So let me give you a full tour. This is where here's a truck. As you see, the truck is moving down the street. And this is okay. Can you hear me now? How's that, Barbara? Sound check. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Test, test. It's only a little better. I'm sorry. I thought my sound was going to be a whole lot better than this. Obviously, it's not. That's what happens when you're outside. So, um, how can I go? Okay, so we were talking about opals. Is it clear enough where you can hear me, Barbara? Is it clear enough that you can hear me? Little better? No? Yes? It'll do. Okay, great. Thank you. So, let's do this. Speakers, output. Okay, output. Okay, cool. So, opals. Let's get right into it. When you look at opal, what is an opal? An opal is a gemstone that truly depends on the light more than any other gemstone. An opal depends on light. All gemstones depend on light to exist because when you think about it, a gemstone is nothing. The value of it does not exist unless there is light. And what's amazing about an opal is lies in its chemical composition. What is an opal made out of? An opal is made out of silicon dioxide with just a hint of water. That this lays on a thin layer of water. In the silicon dioxide, I'll use these balls as an example, are just set up in microscopic beads that come together in no particular order, lying on a bed of water. And what makes opal really interesting is that the percentage of silicon and oxide and oxygen that's in the earth. I looked at the 10 top elements and opal, silicon, 27% of the earth is made up of silicon. When you look at the numbers, oxygen, or 28%, is made up of silicon. Almost 47% of the earth's crust, the whole entire earth, is made up of oxygen. So when you talk about an opal, you're talking about something that is ubiquitous, something that is part of the whole entire Earth crust. And what makes it unique, even though it's so ubiquitous, that it comes together in such a format, it comes together in beads. that has no particular molecular structure. So here is something that's general and it comes together in beads sitting on a layer of water. It's amorphous, meaning it doesn't have, it's not like a crystal. It doesn't have a particular structure. So everything that we value in an opal comes from that molecular structure and how it interacts. And then also with that structure, there's certain impurities, certain things that are not a part of the basic chemical structure of an opal, silicon dioxide. So it has impurities. There are things in it. There are things in it that make it just slightly different. Whatever it grew up in, whatever environment it grew up, you have opals found all over the world. Some of the best opals in the world are found in Australia. Black opals. My a friend, Mark Reynolds, he's a Toastmasters from Australia, reminded me of that the other day. Hey, Mark. And from so you have a ubiquitous structure that can be found everywhere, silicon and oxide, with a thin layer of water. And what happens is the light shines into that opal. And from that light, when that light goes into the opal, it has a takes a process takes place which is called refraction. Refraction is where the light is split up into different rays, different waves of light. Those of you who remember your seventh and eighth grade science, remember that the electromagnetic spectrum, everything from gamma rays all the way to radio waves. Those of you who are fans of the Hulk is powerful because of gamma rays, which sits on one side of the spectrum, where the waves are very short, extremely powerful. And then on the other side of that spectrum, you have radio waves. And in that thin section, right in the middle, of the electromagnetic spectrum is visible light. So we're not talking about just something that's just there, found in the store. You like it because it's just something that you enjoy. And I like wearing opals. It's something that is part of the larger universe, light. And one of the things that happened as I was thinking about this show is I was thinking about the relationship with opal and the light, because every opal that you're looking at something that is the same. It is the same in its basic chemical composition. It looks different because of the different impurities that's contained in that. So Ethiopian opal is different than Hungarian opal, which is there is such thing as a Hungarian opal. Napoleon bought his wife a Hungarian opal, which was actually a very popular opal in the 18th century. You got Australian opal, you have South American opal, you have Brazilian opal. But each type of opal, even though it has the same basic chemical composition, is different because it interacts with the light differently. The way it takes that light, the same light, we're talking about the same light that all of us experience. Each piece of opal, each species of opal takes that light and interacts with it in a completely different way. So therefore it looks different. It has similar characteristics, but the things that we value about it is different because of that interaction. And that when you really think about just the amazement of that how something could be the same but yet be so different. And because it's so different, it tells a different what? Story. Which is what I say every week. Discover the value of your story. Yes, you are a person. Yes, you are a human being. But what is your story? How do you interact with the light? What is the things that people see in you when they see you? What is the colors? What do you radiate? Are your colors bright? Are your colors vibrant? Is your spirit engaging? Is it empowering? So I was when I started this month, before I started this trip, I knew that I was going to talk about opal. I just didn't realize where I was going to wind up as I was talking about this beautiful gemstone, which of course is my birthstone, and I celebrate my birthday here in France. An opal. How does it interact with the light? So, and as I thought about that, just the whole concept of we're talking about something that everything that's on this planet has a relationship with the light. So I started thinking to myself, how do we take that to the next level? What exactly does that mean? The other day I was teaching my kids, and you guys know that I teach all over the world, and I was teaching my kids from China and from India, and we were talking about a paradigm shift. A paradigm shift, for those of you who don't have never heard the term before, you're not familiar, a paradigm shift, the term was coined by philosopher Thomas S. Kuhn, where you have a certain way of thinking about something, a certain theory, a certain way of seeing the world, your certain perspective. And because of something happened, you see the world in a different place, in a different way. And it started to happen to me when I discovered this incredibly beautiful game called Petanque. Petanque is a game that has been around for at least 1,000 years. The Romans actually brought it to this area where I'm at, Calais, France. And actually, the Vikings were here. There's right down the street. There's literally places, archaeological places where the Vikings lived, right here. But the Romans brought the game Petanque, all ball games, bull games. They're not called balls; they're called bulls. Bocce. A lot of those games are similar to Petanque, but Petanque was created here in France. And when I started with these three balls that my manager here in Europe, Catherine, gave me, presented to me the last time I was here. Well, actually, she got them for me when I went back to the States and told me about it. So, because I love Napoleon, I wanted Napoleon Wa to be imprinted in my on my bulls. Okay, so when I came here, was the first time that I got a chance to really play Petanque. And the last time I was here, I met some guys who are national champions, and I told you about those on Facebook. Those guys on Facebook, Renault and Marco and Jean Marc, and these guys, and they took me in. They took me in. I just went there to really take pictures of just guys, French guys playing this game, and they looked at me and they said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm just watching you guys. Do you mind me taking pictures?" And they said, "No, why don't you play?" And at first, I was just thinking, okay, it's a game. I'll try it, no problem. But it wasn't until this trip that I began to really understand the deeper meaning of it. A couple days ago, actually last weekend, there was a wonderful wine festival going on in a arena in this area. They actually have bullfights in this area, real bullfights. And I got a chance. I didn't get a chance to go last time, but this time I got a chance to go in the arena that's right in the middle of the town of Dax. Dax is the bigger, larger town. And when I went there, here's the bull. So literally, they have real, authentic bullfights in this town that I live in because it's so close to Spain. And I just found out a little while ago that it was, of course, not Napoleon himself, but Napoleon III, who was the first person who brought, or at least viewed and participated in bullfighting coming to France for the first time, right? Not in Dax, not in Calais, but in Bayonne, which is about maybe 20 miles, 50 miles from here. So, Bayonne. So I went to this wine festival. And was looking at just all the scenery of the bullfights and the different matadors and the bulls and things like this. And it was amazing. It was amazing. What was even more amazing not only just the amount of people. This is during the bullfights here usually take place in August. So I missed the bullfighting season. One of these days I'll come. August is a not the best time to come to France because there's so many. Everybody's on vacation. People in France in vacation. People from all over the world come to France during the summertime. So August is not the best time. This is the best time to really come to France if you want to experience the country and really have a chance to just let it sink in. But anyhow, so I'm at this arena where they have the bullfights and they have this wine festival every year. So I went, and it was amazing because they had wine distributors from all over the region selling their wine from grapes, wine from all types of different types of grapes and all types of soil, sweet wines, semi-sweet wines, wines that were almost to me bitter to the taste, but someone liked those wines, and they were all here. And what got me, the beginning of it was just how many people who are here of different colors, different ethnicities, different ages, men, women, different, well, different genders, obviously, but they were all here at one place. And as I started tasting all the different wonderful wines, what really got me was just how the hospitality. The hospitality is really what I have come to love about this country because here, for the first time in my life, I'm not a black man. I'm just a man. Now, they may look at me because I'm large, I'm a large guy. They may look at me because I'm an American. But what they see, the reaction that I get from them is just that the fact that I am a man. And they are offering me something that is precious to them, which is vin. And when they serve you the wine, when they serve you the wine, they serve you the wine with that spirit, that energy, that you know that this is something that they've made. Their story is in that glass of wine, and they give it to you, and you I don't know a whole lot about wine. I'm not one of these people that, I know how to swirl the glass and things like this, but I don't call myself a vin aficionado. I just know what I like and know what it tastes like. But what always gets me as a storyteller is how they present it. The story that's involved in them processing the wine. And as I went around and saw the colors and the different types of bottles and the different ways, and I learned the different regions and the different ways you made the wine. When I left the excuse to ride the truck, I saw something even more amazing. All around the arena, I saw people playing petanque. Men, women, young, old, people who are in shape, people who are out of shape, they were all playing this wonderful game. And I started thinking about how Opal is nothing but bulls, silicon bulls coming together in no particular order. And from that experience comes what we think about when we think about Opal, the beautiful play of colors. And that's what I saw. That's what I saw in real time. A beautiful play of colors, and the sky was this gorgeous blue color, and with this light peppering of big white clouds, and there was no bugs out there, just a nice gentle breeze, and everyone was playing this game of petanque. And what got me was not there was competitiveness, there was engagement in the game, but what I saw more than anything else was how people were interacting with the light. And I started thinking to myself how Opal relates to us. How we can't we live like that? Last night I sat right here in front of my apartment and where I stay, and it was 12 o'clock at night, and it was total pitch black darkness, and there was absolutely no fear. I had no fear, no concern about someone hitting me over the head or something happening as a result of it. It was all about just a light right over there where sorry, right there. There's it's called the reunions, which is kind of like the community meeting place. And what touched me almost to the point of tears is, why can't we live like that? Why can't we live in a world where people understand our stories, how we interact with the light, how each one of us have our own sense of who we are, the impurities, the things we all know that we're all human beings. That's the one thing, whether it be a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, someone from the United States, Uni, the United States, from France, from Madagascar, from Guadeloupe. Why can't we all come together? Why can't we understand that we all live on the same planet called Earth? That we all basically, no matter where we're from, we are all made up of the same things, even though an opal is just made up of two or three really simple basic elements: silicon oxide, hydrogen, talking about the water. And yet from that comes something beautiful. Why can't we do that? Why isn't that something that is within who we are as people? Because that's what this show is about. This show is about taking the things, changing the paradigm, making that shift of understanding that the same characteristics that you see in a gemstone, those same characteristics that you see in something like petanque. Think about it. Petanque is a game where you take three bulls. You take three bulls and what's called a cochonet, or in English, a jack. My the French people around me laughing at me because I'm saying cochonnet, which basically means cochon. A cochon is a pig, so it's a little pig. All right, in English is jack, and you take three bulls, and you throw the balls. And the difference between bocce ball and petanque is bocce is a rolling sport. You bowl with bocce, but with petanque it's a tossing. And out of this simple game, which of course in bocce the balls can be mostly wood or plastic, sometimes steel, but in petanque the balls are steel. They're heavy balls, and you have to toss the ball towards this cochonet, and the person who gets it closer to it, more balls closer to the cochonet, wins. But the things that you have to deal with is not only your own perception of the bowls. Everyone has a different technique, and I'll show you some of the guys later in a few minutes. There's Jean-Marc, who's very elegant. Jean-Marc will take the ball and he measures it in his hands. He turns it over and throws the ball. Then there's Renault, who's kind of more of a technician. Renault will just kind of measure the ball and he throws it. And then there's Jerry, and Jerry I call the assassin, because Jerry just comes up and just throws the ball and he's accurate almost like 95% of the time. And yet everyone is valued. Everyone is valued because of who they are, what their story is. And how is that any different than an opal? A black opal is different than a white opal. A fire opal, a Mexican fire opal, is different than an opal that you would find in Ethiopian. But there's there's still a respect for what it is. That is an opal. it interacts with the light. It has a certain responsibility, it has a certain way that it sees the world. And we don't say, oh no, well, you may like black opal more than a white opal or Ethiopian opal or Hungarian opal, but you respect it. You respect the value of it. And opals have been valued for over 5,000 years. Petanque has been played for over 1,000 years. And yet, this simple game means so much to the people that live here in France. The thing about petanque is petanque can be played in any environment. All you need is a field, bocce or pool or other sports that use balls. You have to have a certain setup. You have to have a certain field and things. But petanque, a gravel road is perfect for petanque. So not only do you have to deal with your own impurities, your body mechanics, the way your hand, the size of your hand, your arm, your leg, who you are as a person, your body type, but then you also have to deal with the terrain. You can have a perfect shot as it leaves your hand and you feel wonderful about that shot because you know it's going to get so close to the cochonnet and you're sitting there like, yes, and then it can hit one rock. It'd be totally thrown the other way. Isn't that life? So I started playing the game realizing that this is not just a game. This is an analogy to life. And when you begin to play petanque, you begin to understand it is the impurities. It is the ground that you have to deal with, the terrain. Sometimes we played on a field where the train always went to the left, so I had to make an adjustment in the way I played in order to compensate for that downward grade. I had to make adjustments because I know that no matter how close I get my ball to the cochonnet, that Jerry is going to knock it out of play. Isn't that what we deal with in life? That things are just going along so smoothly. You got that job, you met that person, and something happens that takes your game a certain way. And I started thinking about how much larger this whole thing is called life. How can we, I say every week, to discover the value of your story? Well, one of the ways you can do it is by taking other stories, seeing it, how it relates to you in different ways, backtracking it. I'm amazed at how many people who may be excellent speakers, who do excellent, wonderful things, but they can't tell their stories. Well, one of the ways you do that, one of the ways you see that is by seeing it. How does it relate to other things that you do? How does it relate to the person that you are? What things that you have to go through in order to take that shot, in order to create the colors that you are? And then, so when you start to think about that, a whole new world opens up for you. And we're going to talk more about that when you get to the other side.
I don't know this song.
My body becomes like a cement. Oh my God.
That was the better one. The song different.
Okay. Oh my God. It's like magic. Literally like magic.
As I always say, thank you, Barbara, for always having a commercial that relates to what I'm talking about. Think about it. Irene has some type of neurological, musculoskeletal type of condition that makes her shake or go through extreme tremors, and yet she has found a way to make her shot, the bowl of her life more controllable, more something that she can depend on. So even though she is dealing with those things, she's still a wonderful person. One of the things that has happened for me being here and experiencing the light is I began to understand why I love this country so much. If you've never been to France, and just want to let you know, there was something. Yes, in the United States we say France, but in France, that's how you pronounce it. And when you have experienced this country, France really is the only way to say it. It's just there's an ambiance here. Every building, every place that I've gone through in these 3 weeks that I've been here has been spectacular. The way there's something about the longitude and latitude of this country as it relates to the sun that makes just everything beautiful. And I believe it's that light that makes people act in a different way. And now, before anybody says, yes, I know I'm an American, and yes, I love being an American, but every time I'm here in France, it just makes me ask the question, why can't we live like this? Why can't we live in a place where I can go to an arena where they're serving alcohol? And there was no limit to, I mean, you can only have three glasses. There was none of that. I had, well, according to some people, I had like 21 glasses, but I only had seven, and I was feeling nice. And there were people who had more than that, but yet there was there was respect. There was respect amongst the people, not only playing the game, but respect for the people who were there. The people who would walked around, and all you heard all day was bonjour, bonjour, comment ça va? I say that now as I'm riding past down the road, and people on bicycles just go bonjour, comment ça va? And they look at me kind of strange because they're not used to someone else saying those words. And it's a breathtaking feeling to be in a place. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen other places in the world, but it doesn't happen where I'm at. It's so strange to be in a place where you can just be a human being, where you are respected just because you are. When I leave here today, I'm going to field, my Patonk field is right on the other side of my apartment, about maybe, I don't know, 100 yards. And when I started coming here, I was a spectator. This is Hugo. Hugo is the youngest of the group. Hugo's like 22 years old. And Hugo, he went through different things as a child, so he kind of walks with a limp. But there was just such an elegance the way he not only plays the game, but the way he incorporated me in the game. He comes to me, and this is all in Francais. I mean, only Renault really speaks Anglais, English. So people are stopping like, what the what's going on? So sorry. He said, yeah. So people are. It's not just even a curiosity. It's a genuine respect for not just the game, but they respect who I am. they respect how I see their story played through that game, and it made me understand my own value. It made me understand that it was okay for me to just look and observe. It was okay for me to learn. And of course, they was expecting me to be, an alpha male and very, Marine Corps and normally people think Americans are very arrogant. And of course, people think that French people are very arrogant. I told a good friend of mine yesterday, he said, "Well, I heard French people are very arrogant." No, they're not. They're really not. And maybe I understand it more because I'm a New Yorker and we're known to be so-called rude. But for them, it's not so much rudeness. It's more of, and I'm not an expert on French people, but from what I've seen in all the times I've been to France, it's just really they have a problem with a challenge of telling their story, and that's why they hired me to be able to tell a story, to be able to take something that is a part of you and see how that relate. See how that all comes together in such a way where people interact with, like, here's the postal carrier. The postal carrier. Bonjour. Oui, no, no. Bonjour. Au revoir. So that's it. That's it. So again, that's what it's about. It's about being in a place where in your life where you begin to just understand who you are. What what is your chemical composition? And I'm not talking about, hydrogen, chlorine, bro. I'm not talking about elements like that. I'm talking about who you are. How did you grow up? Where did you grow up? What environment did you grow up in? I those of you who know me or watch my show for a while know that I've changed. I'm a completely different person. That the issues that I had about my mother just even 3 years ago, now I realize even more so that the elements, the things that my mother put inside of me is the reason why I can come to this foreign country and interact with these people, interact with white and black and Muslims, and Hugo's mom is his father is Renault, he's from France, and his mother is from Guadeloupe. So for Hugo, I learned that part of the reason why Hugo is uh, he's taken a liking to me because I am really the first African American man that he's ever seen. And it's amazing being able to have who you are as a person, all the things that your story, you're the antagonist, all the things that you have gone through in your life. My mother, I love my mother more today now is because she made me read. She put those impurities, reading, going to school. It was those impurities that made me who I am today. How I interact with the light. People ask me all the time, how do I work with people from different countries? And 80% of them don't even speak English, not least fluently. And I certainly don't speak Francais fluently. But like an opal that is amorphous, where there's different structures coming together in different types of millions of different types of ways, and the impurities, the things that I have gone through in my life, the way the light, the way I interact with the light, the environment, is what made this trip phenomenal. So I think about Opal in a completely sorry, I thought that was one of the guys. I think about Opal now, and I've been studying Opal for years, but because of this experience, now I think about Opal in a different way. This game has been an analogy. This is me when I first started, and I looked at other people, other opals, and I looked at the way they move. What was their body mechanics? How did they relate their arms, their hand movement, their body structure? When I first started, I was bouncing. I was bouncing another guy named Alan, who I called my professor. Okay, because Alan came from across the field. I saw him looking at me like, who is this guy? And he came up, and I noticed he was looking at me, and I was looking at him, and I just said bonjour, and he's como ça va? Ça va bien? And we went back and forth through this awkward French slash slight English translation back and forth of how he could help me. How could he help me? How he could take his experience and his story. And this is just one of the, Alan's one of the guys that does all the fields, all the grounds, and he does a magnificent job. And in France, it's different. The way they work is once you have a job, that's your job. That's your job pretty much for the rest of your life. But yet here in this country, you're not put down because you're a field hand or you work in maintenance, because there's a level of respect. There's a level of respect and beauty for what you brought to the party. So when I first started playing, I was nervous. The ball, as Renault says, he says, Barry, when you first started playing pétanque, your ball would be 1 meter, 1 meter from the cochon, 1 meter, 3 feet, over 3 feet away from the cochon. But he says, I see that you improved. So because of that, and you got to understand, guys, I don't speak French fluently. I'm okay. Je comprends français, je lis français. But je travaille français. I work here. But here's someone who is a grown man who has taken, that's Renault right there in that picture. And just watching me, and so much of who I am in this game is because of his interaction with me. His interaction with me. So now, because I went outside that arena and saw everybody playing this game called pétanque, and I realized that there were people who were men and women and old, young and old, and there was a place for me in this game. There was a place that I could find myself. And it wasn't so much about winning or losing, even though I started winning after a while, at least helping, because it's a team sport, which makes it even more profound. Because you have to now take your story, who you are, and work with the other people on your team. You're not getting paid, you're not getting an award, it's just a game that manifests, that relates to life. And little by little, because I had a different understanding, a different perspective of what this game means in this country, I started playing differently. I started my hand motion, the confidence of the way I would throw the ball. The ball. I started thinking, okay, if Hugo did this and Francois did this, how was I going to do it? How was I going to use who I am, my size, the way my competitiveness, my aggressiveness, how was I going to play this game that not only satisfied me, but helped my team? Helped my team, helped people, helped me relate people that I didn't even know, who respected me just because I loved their game. And it just got me thinking, how wonderful would that be if we lived in a world where people literally, honestly just respected you and said, pardon, excusez-moi, merci. Not because you got money or because of whatever, just because you're a human being. And they're living and you're living in the same space at the same time. That's what this. Look at the field. This is what Patunk is played on. I guarantee you that I am the only American in this whole region. Guaranteed. And certainly the only African American here. Imagine if I could feel like that in Chicago, in New York, that I could go back home to a place where I can feel like I'm home. And it's not a matter of, well, why don't you just go live there? Yeah, okay, yeah, one day I will. That's the plan. But the United States of America is my home. That hat that I'm wearing, that logo that I wear on my chest of the United States Marine Corps, that's my home. And the only thing that I would love in my lifetime is to literally get to the point where I could experience that, where that can be my experience and I can interact with people. So now, what's his name? Mark. Mark is a former police officer, and when Mark first met me, he was just like, you could just tell. You could just tell the energy. But because I was playing his game, because I respected the game that he was playing, he had a whole certain attitude about me. How can you use that? How can you use the power of stories? Not just stories about who you are and who they person are, but a story that we could come together called Patunk to bring us together. So at this point, Mark was my teammate. And you could see the look on his face. There was a level of respect. There was a level of exultation. Even now, I can hold the balls in my hand with a level of confidence knowing of who I am. The other day, the Marco, this is just going from here I am, going from left to right. Hugo Renault, who was actually Hugo's father. This is Jean-Louis. I told you everybody's name, Jean-Louis, John somebody here, Jean-Louis, Jean-Marc, Jean Chris. So, and then there's Marco. Marco was the first person I met last year. Marco is the national champion of Patunk in Madagascar. And what you see here is Marco came to me after we play. We normally have beers. He came to me with three of the balls. These are not the original balls. These are my championship balls, booze. And he gave them to me. He said, Barry, we would be honored if you accepted this gift from us, from the team. And we are so proud of you for what you've done. And it's still emotional for me because I realized at that real moment, that I had become everything that I was talking about today. I had become from those three balls, just like the silicon balls in an opal. I had become a black opal because the way I interact with the light. So, as always, my name is Barry B. Mixon, and I am a gemological storyteller. And what I would love for you to do is just to take the time to realize who you are, to what you bring to the equation, what you bring this short amount of time that we are all here on this blue ball called Earth, and what's your reaction? How do you interact with people? How do you interact with the light? And I guarantee you, when you get to that point, you will see something beautiful, not just in the environment, but who you are as a person. So, as always, I will come to you with a new journey next week. I'll still be in France, and I hope you join me next week. So, until then, au revoir, à te tella, voilà.